Hello and welcome to This Contains Garlic. You're here with your hosts Georgia Garlic
Mark Garlic.
and we are back a couple of weeks later. I just can't.
Better
Life
late
is
than never.
better late than never. Life has
Yeah.
just been a bit all over the place at the moment.
Why has it been behind all over the place?
Why do you always put me on the spot with that? Because there's got loads of
Because
shit
there's a
going
lot of
on.
stuff that we need to talk about in terms of what we're doing behind the scenes that we should be expressing ourselves about.
Okay, well, why don't you express yourself instead of asking me then?
Well, I'm just asking you to verbalize because sometimes you are more eloquent with your
What?
explanations.
Because you can't spell words. That's the reason why you want me to speak them.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, lots is going on behind the scenes, and I think this has always been a quite repeat nature in our podcast. In just on navigating life in general, especially as I guess a business that's been running for quite a while, but has had multiple changes to it. And I think it's one of those things where it's good to refine things, but sometimes you just have to like step away from certain elements of the business in order for you to then just like, I guess, put your foot on the gas pedal on when, I don't know. Well, long story short, we are developing an academy.
Preach.
Mark, you don't need to sound like you're a Jesus preacher, honestly. Like, preach, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
preach
All
it.
hail God.
Preach it, though. Come on.
Um,
I want you to sell it to me.
Honestly, fuck off, because I feel like an airhead today. I just said to Mark before this podcast, I feel like a Love Island contestant in their first interview. I just feel like I've got no substance in my brain. I don't know what it is. I think I just overcooked myself this week a little bit. But we're designing an academy. We want to have. I think when we used to have the Arrow Club running like as a location, the Arrow Club was obviously a gym. It was quite easy to form like a sense of a community of some degree of like-minded individuals, and I think so many people see us, and it's really weird because we never view ourselves like this, but yet so many people view us completely differently. Like, we're quite, I guess you could say, what, lucky, or has it come from hard work, or we've produced good things? But we obviously have quite a large following in everything that we do. And I think people always think that when you've got a large following, that like you find things very easy to navigate because you just got like tens of thousands of people there waiting. And the reality is that it's not actually the truth. You still got to cement certain values for your business and certain values for yourself in order for other people to see those values. And we found it like really hard, like navigating from being gym owners and being like, our days used to be run by like back-to-back clients, private clients, and you know online really did make up like a very, very small percentage of what our business is, and now it's the complete opposite. And it's normal for, I think, most people, like, we might be tech savvy in a way because of maybe our age or like how we've been brought up or what we know, but there's also been a huge amount of hard work and learning in the process. And today we are actually going to talk about, well, I guess it's quite a vague but also interesting debating topic, which is, why do we always think that things need to be easy? And I think this comes in a number of different factors of your life. Would you not agree, Mark?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that assumption or narrative that is very prevalent, especially within the fitness industry, where everyone assumes that the process is going to, go along swimmingly, or that it needs to be, super, super easy, plain sailing in a completely linear fashion of progression and so on and so forth, which sets people up for warped expectations, especially when it comes to managing your training,
I'll be
managing
honest,
your
it sets yourself
nutrition.
up for failure, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it
Like, I
does.
think we get numerous comments via social media, which is like, oh, this doesn't look easy, or why is this not easier, or things like that. And I just think, are you fucking lazy? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's literally like,
I think
there's an element of like, why do we like, that might come across quite abrupt, but I've done this job and you've done this job long enough, and I've worked with thousands of people, all in different backgrounds, all in different cultures. Like, we have this conversation quite frequently of how many different types of people we have actually worked with to be able to be in this position, to be able to have this opinion. But, you know, just because you see something that somebody else is doing or you might want to strive for or whatever, doesn't mean it ever first came easy to them either. And you've got to remember that most of the things you see on a day-to-day, like, I guess day-to-day life in general, is made to look easier, because if it wasn't easy or didn't think that, it wouldn't be sellable, it wouldn't be enticing, it wouldn't come across like it was a logical next step. And I think when people go into their health, for example, or maybe if even just exercise or like, I don't know, like nutritional elements of certain things, like there is going to be times where you're challenged. Do you know what I mean? Like just the same as you would in a job, like what we just spoke about. Like we have been mentally challenged massively trying to learn the whole digital world and how it runs currently and always being up to date. Like 4 months ago, do you think you knew as much as what you do now, Mark?
No, definitely
Absolutely
not. No, we've had to learn on the job and learn quickly. And it's been, you know, a very steep learning curve with regards to that. And it's been very challenging and it's, you know, taken us out of our comfort zone. But that is where the vast majority of personal progress happens, is outside of your comfort zone. And there just seems, I mean, not everybody has this kind of inclination towards the health and fitness, but you do see it permeate a lot through, I don't know, you just go onto YouTube and type in 20-minute, you know, workout and you know, those kind of short and fast, lean and 50, everything is kind of made out like everything needs to happen within a 30-minute time frame. You know, because God forbid everyone's so busy scrolling Instagram or social media for hours and hours on end without, you know, any recourse or any logical thought progression towards maybe I should use this time for self, you know, progress or something like that. But it is very evident and it's setting people up to have very warped expectations that things should be just consistently easy.
Oh my God. And I think even not even speaking about, you know, like whether it's losing weight or going to the gym or whatever like that, I'm talking just in general life. Like I've never come across about so many people now that just want
I think it comes down to
way.
entitlement. Like the reality is our parents and our parents prior to that, everyone, you know, may or may not have had a more challenging lifestyle. And as the generations go along, the common narrative is, I'm going to give my child opportunities and experiences that I wasn't afforded to when I was growing up. And that then turns into little Johnny having absolutely everything and a participation medal for coming last. And, oh, no, you're so unique and there's nobody like you and you're so special. And then that just breeds people that are entitled.
People, like, there's a lot of people that I have to say that I have worked with who are and I see it as like quite like an attention seeking vibe where like if you're not probably about a month and a half ago I literally had like a minor mental breakdown in my head, and I remember saying to you, Mark, I was just like, well, I've said a number of things in this mental breakdown, but it's this whole thing of like the past like 10 years of my life. And I think even when I went through a vast transformation, like losing a huge amount of weight, trying to fit society's standards and needs, and trying to come up to speed with like what my mindset was saying to me and what my internal narrative used to repeat to me on a day-to-day basis. But in general, I have been like my own cheerleader through the whole of my like last 10 or 12 years of my life. And I think you would probably say the same for you.
Yeah.
We don't have people, because we are in our profession, the level of like, unless Mark wants to compete or I want to take things to like another level in the sense of like, I don't know, something athletic and capabilities, like will we think about getting additional help in the sense of a coach or somebody that can be like that person that cheers you on a day-to-day basis? And very much the same as like, you know, with our jobs and stuff like that, because we work for ourselves, like our business is ours, do you know what I mean? And we don't have anybody above us telling us, you know, oh, you should do this and well done for doing that. We've kind of had to like really cheer ourselves on, which means like I'm not an attention seeker. Like I am probably the complete opposite of wanting to draw attention to myself. And I think that's definitely changed a lot throughout the years. But I have worked a lot of people that constantly need gratification for doing literally fuck all. And I just don't understand that process, because if you bring that attitude
The thing is, I
into
feel like
any element of your life, you're probably going to get either, I don't know, a stark reality or somebody just telling you
the
to
thing
fuck
is, you
off.
should only get congratulated
When
when
you've
you've
done
achieved
something.
something,
Yes.
and that's the reality. It's like nobody should clap and encourage you for suboptimal progress,
No.
and that's the reality. Is we've also the narrative within the general population and influencers and social media. It's like praising suboptimal results. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, instead of encouraging people to be competitive, encouraging people to work hard, to obtain, outstanding results, it's no, we kind of promote and encourage people to just, plateau and, be stuck in a rut. And then
I'll be honest, I think
give
that
everybody a
came.
little pat on the back, but you don't have to do this if you don't want to, as long as you're happy. It's like that for some
Reality
people
is
is
they're not
cool,
happy.
but for some people they need to kick up the arse and be like, actually, to be what's going to serve you better in the long run is you getting your arse into gear and actually doing something productive and fulfilling for yourself to achieve something substantial, because that is what's going to improve your mental health and improve the internal narratives within yourself. Is fulfilling, overcoming an obstacle, setting a goal, achieving it. These are the things that provide fulfillment in your life and drive a self-worth. It drives a positive internal narrative. And if we don't encourage people to do that and necessarily pull up the bullshit when they're just sitting on their arse and being idle expecting praise, then all we're doing is shortchanging ourselves as a society.
Yeah, I think it all stemmed from the need for like likes. I think like when social media came about, like it was this whole thing of like, remember when Facebook first ever was launched? The whole premise of Facebook was to like rate or hate. Do you know what I mean? In the sense of like,
Yeah.
oh, she's hot, he's not,
Yeah.
she's hot, you know what I mean? And that was literally what it was formed as. It was effectively a popularity site.
Well, it was Mark Zuckerberg trying to find out which women were single so he could shoot his shot, essentially.
Anyway, I don't think he needs to shoot many shots right now. He's got enough. But the reality is that whole thing has stemmed from like fulfillment and attention is what people seek now online. So like if you upload something, like God forbid it performs badly and you don't get the external amount of likes or comments, like maybe it's the wrong time or maybe it's just like, and then you start to feel like, it's shit and like everything's too hard and why me, and now I need more attention because nobody's praising me. Why is nobody liking my stuff? Why is nobody commenting? Why does nobody love me? Do you know what I mean? And there's so many people out there who are completely lost in themselves, like completely lost in themselves, striving for external gratification all the time when they are miserably unhappy in themselves. Like I see it so often, and as I say, and I'll say this time and time, I'm not saying this from just a general opinion of myself. I literally see it. I see it on a daily basis. I've worked with many people who, from the outset, many people think they're really happy and they're wonderful and what a great life. And I wonder, and actually, like, the reality is the complete fucking opposite. And these individuals then end up living in, like, a fantasy world where like everything is praise and everybody should be wonderful, and if you're mean to me then oh my god, woe is me. Like I was really badly bullied at school. Like I had like I wasn't the one where like teachers would then tell the bully off. I was the one that was then separated from the class because I was bullied so badly that they were worried, do you know what I mean, that I should then be separated from all kind of communication with any other people or children growing up, and instead you are the problem, you know what I mean, when actually number one, I'm glad that happened because it's made the character that I am today. But it's that whole thing of like people always thinking like, why me? Like, you know what I mean? Oh, like, you know, that
Yeah,
whole
but it's
like,
a little bit narcissistic just to think that, you know, the whole fucking world revolves around you,
yeah, like
and
fuck,
that
wake
your
up. I'm
opinion,
sorry.
you know, your opinion matters more than anyone else, or your the way you know, I'm offended by this because X, Y, and Z, and it's just entitlement and narcissism, which
I
is
also can't
driven.
stand the narrative of that people are like dumber than people. There are people like we come to this point now where like it's quite obvious with the percentage of people that maybe might not go to university, or they might go to university, or they just finish education at 16 and they go into a job or an apprenticeship or whatever. There's been a big change in education. And I will always say that I was like one of the least academic people at school you could probably have found. Like literally, I didn't have any interest in it. I had no desire. Do you know what I mean? I'm probably, you know, and I'd say probably you were the same, Mark.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it was just honestly like trying to herd cats into it. Like I couldn't be asked. I just really couldn't be
No,
asked.
I think it was just my attention span
Yeah,
was
it was like
zero. So like, I just
literally.
I also, you know, growing up, my father taught me that nobody can demand respect from you. Respect is earned. And I had zero respect for all the teachers that taught us. So then I just did whatever I wanted,
Do
which,
you find I find it quite challenging because if you weren't like when we were at school, like if you weren't academic or the A-star student, like excelling in something, then you were a fucking loser, and God forbid, like
oh
you
no, it
know
was
that
the
you're not going
opposite
to
for
get.
us. If you were academic and A star, you were the loser. It was if you didn't play sport and were in the
That's a
first
boys'
team.
school for you,
Yeah,
obviously.
everyone's like, oh, look at that dude, nerd.
It's the same, like obviously, like the ones that were like the rugby team captain or the fucking lacrosse, like they obviously were you know, the popular shining people in the crowd. But I do think the whole thing is also there were some teachers that were so unenthusiastic themselves. Do you know what I mean? That you're not going to get a
Yeah,
child.
I
That's
mean,
not.
why would you be enthusiastic to teach
Well, can
children
I
on a
be
daily
honest with
basis?
you? If you go to this is again pretentious 101, but if you go to a private school, your parents are paying a fuck ton of money, and I only just realised how much money that really is. Like in the later years, where you're like, oh my god, and they're paid to give a shit, to be quite honest with you. I am very understanding of schools that are not private having to literally, like, teachers have to do so much to try and get students to learn and to do things and to get a result. And I can imagine it's incredibly challenging for some teachers. But if you're in a private school, like, you should be hiring, you can pay them, do you know what I mean? Because, like, I fucking know the amount of money that used to be raised at our school for like charities or like an event or this, you know what I mean? You should then be getting people that are very, very good at teaching.
Yeah, but you still got to deal with all the pretentious children.
Yeah, who are even fucking worse. Don't get
Exactly.
me wrong.
So like, being motivated
I don't think
for
I
that.
was a pretentious child. I just had an attitude. There was a difference. And I think the more you told me like no, or like you can't do that, or be like, the more I was like, I'm going to do the complete opposite. And I think that I was told so many times that I was really shit at things. And when you're told you're really shit at things, you start to like genuinely believe that. Like, I never forget when I got my GCSE results in the first grade that I saw. I was adamant I was going to take Spanish for A level, and the first grade was just
would
like the
you
fact
do
that I
that?
failed Spanish.
Why
Well,
would you do
technically,
that?
I've obviously got an auntie that's Spanish, not that she's part of the family.
Why didn't you just choose like a
Well, I was
science
really
or
passionate that I was going to learn another language. I've always said this. Like, I always wish that I was bilingual. I get really envious of
But
those that can speak
surely your
multiple different
parents would have stepped in and just gone, that's probably not the best subject to do.
No, because I wouldn't say that I was like a complete. No, because they just wanted to encourage me to do anything really. Like, fucking just try and like do something, Georgia, and then you'll get it. But I remember reading like the first grade on my GCSEs, and it was like fucking fail on Spanish, and then my dad nearly had a heart attack when my English language, which was something that people used to speak to me about, like I was honestly the most dyspraxic child at school. Like I used to get like 2.5 hours extra time in exams, which just doesn't really help when you don't know the answer in the first place. Literally, like,
That's arguably the worst thing that could potentially happen to you.
yeah, somebody that's got attention fucking issues, like ADHD, sat in a room, doesn't know the answer anyway, and then has to sit there for like hours on end.
You want to be in and out of that exam room under 60 minutes.
Well, I don't think you were allowed to in professional
No, we were
exam.
allowed to leave. Yeah, we were.
But I remember just like I think a lot of things that you end up in life where you constantly being told you're shit at, and I think the same is definitely replicated when it comes to losing weight and you've tried to lose weight before. Do you know what I mean? Oh well, it didn't work. Oh fuck, I've tried everything now. Do you know what I mean? Nothing fucking works. I'm shit. This is shit. I'm not going to ever be able to get to where I want to be. And it's exactly the same in education. Like if people consistently speak to you or you apply certain methodologies that don't work or things don't work, then you're honestly going to believe that it doesn't then work. But that doesn't necessarily mean that to not overcome those hurdles, you've actually got to do something and challenge yourself to be better. Like, I had to challenge myself a lot to be where
Yeah, and
we are
it's
now.
definitely not easy. And the industry, especially when it comes to weight loss and personal progression, everyone's looking for that, 15-minute answer, 20-minute workout, blah, 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 blah. And it really, and I guess I want to separate, um, just like working and moving your body is obviously always encouraged, so on and so forth. But I want to separate that from actual seeing significant changes and progression within your body composition, your strength, and so on and so forth. Because yes, 20 minutes of exercise is better than zero, but the expectations that you can just do something that's so easy as 20 or 15
It's not
minutes.
easy though. Some of these fucking workouts are like the most, and it makes people hate exercise because they've got to like jump on the floor,
Yeah, I
get
guess,
back
yeah.
up. You know what
Well,
I
I
mean?
guess when you then having to squeeze that 20 minutes into like actual 60 minutes worth of exercise, it can be quite intense. But it's the general assumption that you can just do 20 minutes here and there and have an absolutely banging body.
I
It's
don't think. I think
ridiculous.
it's also the fact of like I always say this to people. Like people come on board and they're like, oh, I really just like hate the position I'm in now. It's like, well, that's not probably going to change. Do you know what I mean? And that's the reason why you're here doing something about it. But it's the same as like somebody coming to you that's oh, I've gained like 30 kilos and I used to be like this and now I'm not like this. And then they expect that 30 kilos can be gone within the first couple of weeks. It's like, I'm sorry, but like at what point when you sat with 30 kilos of weight on you for years and years and years and years and consistently got worse and worse and worse, do you think that that can be completely changed
Yeah,
in a matter of
reversed.
weeks? And I will happily say, hand on my heart, I am currently in the best shape I ever have been. But that's because I've gone through phases of my life, and I want people to understand this. When you are very, very overweight and you go through your initial stage of wanting to lose weight and wanting to be not in a position where you're going to regain it, and you want to build your main aim is to try and get that weight off of you. It's not about having popping biceps and a fucking sculpted back and like a glutes that are on fire. Do you know what I mean? That's like probably the last of your concerns. Now,
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean that I am not in favour and have taken all of our clients through this, that when you do go through a large weight loss journey, it's really, really, really important that there is some kind of resistance training brought into that process so that you don't end up shortchanging yourself when you've lost loads of weight and you end up like an empty sack and then you end up miserable and your calories are super low and your metabolic rate is like on the fucking ground, do you know what I mean? And then you end up in this cycle of wanting to regain weight. And that's why resistance training is proven to help people not regain weight over the first stages of weight
Yeah.
loss, because effectively, and then obviously adapts your body, gives you more muscle mass, gives you the ability to have a higher metabolic rate, etc., which then helps you be able to not regain body fat to the extreme of what you potentially have done. But whenever somebody goes through, like, I don't know, when I did it, like I lost a large period of weight over a couple of years where I was literally nothing got in my way, like at all. And then I started to fall in love with like being strong and being, my lowest weight is not where I sit now, but my body is like the best it ever
Yeah,
has
body
been.
composition is different.
And I just want to say that, like, for anybody that's ever followed maybe us or like maybe even my journey years ago, because I know there's some people that do listen to this that have followed us for years, like never fucking think that like you can have it all at once, like, because you can't. Do you know what I mean? You've got to do it in phases, and then you need to start falling in love with that process to get yourself better and better and better. So the position I sit in now, people sometimes are gobsmacked at, like, oh my god, how do you do that, how do you do this? So because it took a fuck ton of time and effort, and the reality is that my first focal point when I was very, very overweight was not right. Fuck, I need to be in the gym doing like at least step ups with like 60 kilos, and I need to be thinking about the fucking body composition. No, it was like literally your health is on the fucking line of degrading by the second. You're either going to have a short, very short life, or you're going to do something about it. So your main aim is to try and just improve your fucking health. And that's the reason why I did it. And those goals change, the more you go into the process. So if you are at the start of your journey, like, this is why you should never set yourself up to do too much, because it's always this thing, I need to do all of these things, but you don't do any of them at the start anyway. Do you know what I mean? You don't do any of it. So then try and incorporate that into your lifestyle when you literally have never done any of it before. So you've got to go at small steps for it, but then realize that pretty much every step of the way, it's going to be like trying to do the hurdles of a 100-meter sprint, but like you trip over all the fucking time. Like if you tried and set off on a race in the Olympics trying to jump over those fucking hurdles, good luck, because most people wouldn't be able to. It's the same thing. You're going to get bumps in the road. You're going to have things that question certain elements of it. You're going to have moments where you think, this is really hard. Do you know what I mean? But that's what's going to form you in the years to come as to how you manage it, how you view it, how in control you feel of it.
You've got to embrace the difficulty. That's the reality of it, because everything worthwhile having that you want to obtain in life requires extraordinary effort. And the narrative of you need balance and da 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 is not factually correct, because all the people that have excelled in any area of their life do not, and I repeat that, do not show any form of balance ever. Yeah. So, getting into shape requires a shitload of effort, time, and consideration. But so when you've achieved that goal, do you think miraculously you just stop training and you can just eat Ben and Jerry's until the cows come home? No, that's not the case. You have to maintain it. And the only way you're going to maintain excellence is by embracing the suck. You've got to embrace it. You've got to look forward to it. And you've got to allow the difficulty and the shittiness of the experience to mold your character and make you resilient. Otherwise, listen, I guess really honest, the reality is that in life there are some winners and there are some losers, and some people are destined to win, some people are destined to be in shape, some people are destined to be CEOs, some people are destined to be high net worth, and some people are meant to sweep the floor. Do you know what I mean? That's the reality. And it comes to, some people are just complacent. Some people are quite happy just to stay in their comfort zone.
Mark.
Yeah, I'm not.
You can't sound like too much of a
no, I appreciate that. That, like, outside of privilege, let's just say level playing field, it comes down to what you put in is what you get out. If that was the case and everyone was on a level playing field, there was no inheritance and what your family name is and where you were born and how you grew up. And if that was all erased and everyone was on the same level playing field, there's still going to be some winners and there's still going to be some losers. And what's the defining factor between people that achieve greatness and don't achieve greatness is consistency and embracing the shittiness.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, a lot of people could probably argue that and say, well, you're not all at the same play.
No, I know you're not.
In the sense, you're not. And there are people, like we speak about, if you go to private school, are you then, like we were talking about, when you go to a private school, usually the people that are around you in the environment can effectively prop you up later on in life. If family friends, or, if I look at my godfather or my, what I mean?
I still get, you got to do something. Do you know what I mean?
No, you've got to know, well, I agree with
something.
that. There are some people which I don't agree with that. And I feel I know very, very well that, they can slip into a very high role without really doing too much because of their privilege.
Well, okay, let's put it this way. Let's say you've gone to a private school. You are a building contractor. Your best mate, whose dad wants you to build him a £10 million house. You still got to at least do a pretty good job.
No, you
Do you know
do,
what I
but the
mean?
opportunity is there. Like, unlike the person who has to work like 3 different fucking jobs, potentially has a child that's like got special needs, or you know what I mean, and has a
And
partner
every
that's
person
also
that
doing three
has
different jobs.
excelled in life
But I
and
don't think
come
they're
from that
losers. They're not
background. No, I'm
losers.
not saying they're a
They
loser,
win
but
in their
I'm just
own life
saying
in a
the
certain.
people that have come from that background and have managed to overcome all the odds and exceed in life, what is their general narrative when they
What do you say is exceed out
convey?
of interest? What do you think is exceed in life out of interest? Because in my head,
Well, let's
I
say, for
feel like you're
example,
speaking
like that
financially, and
guy.
that's not right.
No, let's say, for example, let's say the guy that runs that Pimlico's plumbing service, the guy with blonde hair, that's somewhat of a
Charlie or something.
Z's list celebrity. You know, he apparently came from a not very affluent background, and he worked really hard, and now he's where he is today. And his main driving factor is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And the vast majority of the people that haven't had a silver spoon in their mouth, the narrative that they'll always say to you is, I worked really, really hard, I sacrificed things in life, it sucked, but I got over it, remained consistent, and look where I am now. If I can do it, you can do it.
I think statistically, if you come from a lower economic background, you're more likely to work harder than those that are privileged.
Yeah,
And
of
that is
course.
that. Now we've had this
Yeah,
conversation
we have.
before,
But when they
but
do succeed, why is that?
because they put a lot of effort and time into succeeding. But
There
I
you
feel
go.
like, what is the element of success? Because this is a very good topic to debate. Because are you talking that the element of success needs to be somebody that sat there at multi-millions saying that, like, if you can do it, I can, if I can do it, you can do it?
No,
Or
no,
are
it
you trying to say, but how
could
do you know
be
they're happy?
overcoming a drug addiction, it could be starting a family, it could be running a
Yeah, so it's
business.
not like you lose in life. Like, I don't think there's winners and there's losers in the sense of competitiveness, yes. But I think in the sense of life, it very much depends on your own environment's economic situation to know where you're winning at. But I would always say that, like, I've some of the most successful people in this world have come from the absolute worst backgrounds, and their strive every day is they never ever want their family or themselves to feel or to be put in a situation as to what they were put in, and that is a fucking good motivator. Now take a child, let's take me for example.
Yeah.
I'm not a child, I fucking wish I still was. Who has been brought up in intense amounts of privilege to some degree versus others. Is there my only strive, I'll be honest with you, is, oh well, if I'm to ever have children, well, I need to make sure that they have the same life as me, which is pretty fucking unrealistic for most at the moment.
Yeah, sure,
Like,
to be fair.
and so is that a working motivator? Like, are you going to be pumped? You just want, the problem is when you've been, this is the thing, when you've been brought up around money, now this sounds, and this is, please, whoever listens to this, take this, because I can speak like I'm a pretentious cunt, but if you've been brought up around money, you then strive for that same level of money. And that is a fucking problem when you have a reality check. When it comes down to, oh, shit, okay, I've got to actually start working from the ground level up. Why is it not really easy? Do you know what I mean? I thought I've only ever seen people give things to me or gift things to me or have this thing. And now I can't have it. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
you
but
almost
it
go through
gets
this resenting factor that you were brought up that way, because now your expectation is so fucking high of life that you can't ever match it.
and the reality is what how does that shape you as an individual? It
It's
makes
been
you
hard, Jesus Christ.
it's hard, and it's difficult, and it's warped your perceptions and so on and so forth, but it is the main driving factor to you getting up every morning and excelling in your job and being dogmatic with progression, with wanting to be successful. It's based off that. So you
Yeah,
appreciate that
true.
how hard
I've
it
seen
is.
success in my family, so I feel
You've
like
seen how how hard it is. You've seen how hard your dad worked. That they were
and my
incredibly,
grandparents.
your grandparents, your dad's sacrificed a lot of his life traveling and family and a whole bunch of other, massive hurdles that were really, really challenging for him at that given moment. But the overriding narrative is, fuck, this is really, really hard. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna grab life by the horns, and I'm going to overcome it.
Yeah, and
And
I just
that's
don't
and
think the
that's
younger
what
generation's got
people
it in them at the
that's
moment.
what people successful people do. And it's like it's very different to, oh, this is difficult, let me give up, or let me do this, oh, I'm 3 weeks in and my weight's fluctuated by half a pound, I'm just not going to check in and speak to my coach and sack off the entire process.
Yeah, because
Or
it's all shit. Yeah.
procrastinating because you know it's going to be difficult, you know it's going to be confronting and challenge you when you have to balance work, life, socializing, and your health. Oh, I'm just going to wait until, the end of summer so I can get my ducks in a row. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of procrastination and that level of not wanting to appreciate that most things in life are really, really challenging.
Yes, and I think the fact is that we're not really taught how challenging it's going to be, and that's the whole joy of becoming an adult and to like actually live adult life. Like, because there's going to be numerous times where shit hits the fucking fan and you look at one another, like we've done it a couple of times, where you're like, what the fuck is going to go on now?
Yeah.
Literally. And you're like, okay, right, mental breakdown, fucking
a fork in the road, and the right fork is, you got to pull your finger out your ass and get shit done, and the other one is wallow and blame somebody else,
Do you
point
know what?
fingers
One thing
at.
that stuck with me so much over the last couple of years, and I don't know what it was, but I think we mentioned this previously, but when the pandemic hit, we obviously were the complete opposite of what our business is now, and I just want to clarify that we were not what we are now in any way, shape, or form. We were complete opposite jobs. When the pandemic hit, we had a mortgage to fucking pay for. We had our life to pay for. We bought a house in Cape Town. We had our expenses to pay for. We then had 0 clients coming through the door in a gym due to the fact that South Africa had such an intense lockdown. Okay,
Indefinitely.
So overnight, I'm not joking. Overnight, I remember the date of what it was. We literally went from a full fucking gym of hours of work. Do you know what I mean? Pay coming in, everything like to nothing.
To
okay.
zero.
And then, luckily, because we'd moved to Cape Town, a lot of our British and Western, like the Western world, whatever, who were interested in coaching us or wanted us to coach them, had sort of hung on and wanted us to coach them. Now we were in Cape Town online. And luckily, we'd had a base of that to build off of. But overnight, we went from, okay, yeah, this is great, to what the actual fuck are we doing, okay? And so we were like, right, overnight we're going to have to launch virtual classes. We're going to have to do virtual training. Very luckily, about 8 months previous to that, we had tested the waters of a membership site, a virtual thing, because we thought, oh, maybe we want to progress into this. Now we're in a different country and a lot of people want us in the UK and all of this. Let's try and open these doors up. And so we tried on it. But overnight, we had to try and earn fucking money, launch a load of fucking things to a market where we only had like a couple of thousand followers on our Arrow Club page at the time. It
And
wasn't so
every person in the fitness industry was also doing the exact same thing.
But maybe, I'll be honest, you might have lost income, but if you don't have a gym over your head having to pay for that shit, then you probably don't understand the stress of what actually has to go into that. But the element of the fact of, oh my God, I've now got to do something which earns me money ASAP. And I will never forget launching virtual classes, and we got messages from people online saying, I just really honestly think this is like disgusting that you're charging for this in such a delicate time of the pandemic, that you're charging me £10 per week to come to unlimited classes. Remember, we did 2 to 3 a day,
because everyone was just giving them
2
out
to
for
3
free.
fucking day, you know what I mean? But because a couple of other people were giving for free. But it was that whole element of, actually, do you know what? You can give this all for me for free because you don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about your life, but you need to give a fuck about mine. And I remember ranting on social media, just being like, look, if you send us one more fucking message saying that we need to be doing this for free, I'm going to spell it out for you exactly why we don't do this for free and why you can pay us £10 fucking a week, do you know what I mean, to turn up for hours of our time, do you know what I mean? And it stuck with me because I thought, do you know what? It
was so challenging because
so
we went
hard.
from being personal trainers to, Georgia learning WordPress, Georgia learning
I literally
Canva,
built everything.
Georgia learning, we then had to become content creators. We had to, get wise to marketing on social media. And it's all incredibly confrontational, really uncomfortable tasks and hurdles we had to overcome and kind of
Especially when you're
battle
paying
with.
out for that, and then you're not necessarily earning the greatest capacity like that you have done because nobody's training with you face to face, And luckily, time and time again, I will say it's not luck. It's like the fact that we've worked fucking hard for it. But we had clients that went virtual, and then we've managed to maintain that 4 years fucking later to be where we are now. But it's just those elements where I think like there's been so many times in the past, and we are like the last people to ever tell somebody that, like, it just keep things going. Do you know what I mean? Just keep it going, and everybody will think everything's okay. Do you know what I mean? And that's the whole element of like. But it's not to say that behind the scenes that we have not had moments where like literally it's diarrhea going around a fan. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, like it's like somebody's just lactose intolerant, has drunk a milkshake and is shat in a fan, and it's going round all over you. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, that's what it felt like, and I have felt like that on numerous times in my life. And every time it's like, right, you can cry right now, but you actually need to just fucking get on with it because nobody's going to do it for you. And I've said it to Mark loads of times, like, we just got to remember nobody does this for us. We've got to do it ourselves. And if you repeat that enough, you go, right, fucking suck up, you piece of shit. Do you know what I mean? And this is coming from somebody that dealt with some of the darkest moments in their head. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? I think Mark's been there. What is the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? And that's normal to think that, but it's how you then behave and action that behavior afterwards as to what's going to really see the success. And now we sit here and we've managed to fucking learn a lot, trial and error. And I will say that failing doesn't show that you are a complete, that it's actually a step forward in progression because you fail, and it's how you pick yourself up from that moment.
Well, you're learning from mistakes. Like if you fail, you try fail forward. You try and learn,
do something that
you try and
adapts to
learn
it,
from your mistakes. You try and learn from the experience, and then realize, okay, let's put that in the back pocket to make sure that we never do that again.
Like we knew trainers,
and that's the weird thing about the this kind of industry as well. People will come to you and say, well, I've done, I lost loads of weight doing a ketogenic diet. I was at the lowest weight possible. I couldn't sustain it. I put all the weight back on plus interest. So when I work with you as a coach, I want you to write me a ketogenic diet. And you're like, at what point in that sentence did you have like an aneurysm? Because you've just explained to us that you've done something, you saw shit returns, yet you still want to revisit the same habits and, this used to work for me, so let me try it again. You want to revisit the same habits that are just making you go round and round in circles. And you'll be surprised how many people you're like, actually, if your ketogenic diet was so successful, you wouldn't be talking to me in the first place because you would have just progressed and got on with your life. But no, we're here, and why are you trying to revisit things that haven't worked? And we clash heads, we bump heads.
Yeah, but it's the same. It's exactly the same though. It's like when you think that certain elements run. Like, if you were to run an online business back in 2018 versus 2023, complete opposite thing for our industry. The complete fucking opposite. You didn't need to try for shit back in 2000. Like, you did not need to try. Didn't really. You just needed to, you did need to try in the sense that, like, you had to work very hard in your other element of a job, do you know what I mean, to bring in that attention on a business,
and it's progressing, with the algorithm changing towards video content and all this kind of stuff. You see all the legacy fitness and influencers are struggling.
They're struggling, and that's not something that you should be laughing about, though. Because
no, I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing, but I'm just saying.
We used to do it like, our day-to-day basic day used to be running with, not running. Fuck, I wasn't running nowhere. I was in the fucking gym, but like around socialites, celebrities, very high net worth individuals, all these people that had influx and out, you know what I mean, ready and raring at the palm of our hands. We had waiting lists. We had to palm people off to other trainers. We had to have, we had to do all of these things, which look, it's not to
But
dismiss.
why was that, Georgia?
No, but there was
Because
a lot of other trainers, for example, who were in the same situation as us in other areas of London, who are still to this day like people that we would probably be at the same level as, not necessarily educational wise, but in the sense of status of who we knew and what we worked with. And people are like, fuck, okay, now I am not this prestigious sort of person which people bow down at the fucking knee, you know what I mean, and like will suck off before trying to get a session, you know what I mean. You're now in an online world where there's you've got access to billions of people in every different country, and you're like, where am I going to find the ones that I need?
You can't just take a photo of your shirt off and post it and get influx of 20,000 inquiries.
No.
It just doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, you could literally upload a before and after photo of a client, which obviously we work hard at achieving. Like, all of our clients worked hard at that. But you'd upload a before and after, and I genuinely I mean this, used to have an inbox full of fucking requests. Like, oh my God, I want this, I want that, I want, you know what I mean? Please try, please, like, you know, and now, you know, because of the pandemic, everybody went online. And as I've always said, the next 2 years are going to be the dictating factors of those that stay online. And that's not a fucking problem if you don't. Because if you realise that you don't enjoy it and it's really just a complete bane, then definitely don't do it. There is 100% been moments in my head where I've thought exactly the same.
Yeah, and again, it always revolves around to like why the expectation of this being easy, you know, completely shifting and changing jobs from a face-to-face trainer to an online trainer is completely different. So different. And the assumption of like, well, why isn't this easy? Because it's not meant to be. And the reality is we have had our moments where, you know, both of us have said to each other, oh, you know, I'd rather just maybe go back to being a face-to-face trainer in a gym or in a local area. But then at the end of the day, it's like, well, are we the types of individuals that just give up? No, definitely not.
No, we're not. We're physically adamant until it legitimately fails, which it doesn't. It's just these moments where you think, okay, I've actually really got to do that. Like, literally, I've really got to do that, and I've got to come to terms with the fact I've got to fucking do that, and I've got to grow up, do you know what I mean? Literally. And realise that if you want to have what you have, do you know what I mean, and continually for years and years and out, you're going to have to do something for that, do you know what I mean? And those things are different pillars of what you need to do than what you have been used to be doing, you know what I mean? And like I look, I'm sure some people might be aware, but we have flipped the switches numerous times as an online business, and I'm like kind of proud of it because we've got to a position of where we are, you know what I mean? And we wouldn't be in that position if we hadn't flipped the switch a number of different fucking times. But, you know, I just always think that people, you know, I've had loads of people that always say like, oh, you've got so many followers and, oh, I wouldn't want to message you in case like you don't get back to me. And it's just like, fuck, we are like the most reliable and honest people you're going to get on social media. Like, I'll be honest about that. Like, we are the most responsive, caring, we actually give a fuck. And that's the reason why when we have the moments of like, I don't know what we're fucking doing right now, do you know what I mean? That we go, right, bring ourselves back to what we have done and how we help people and how we do on a day-to-day fucking basis, every single day of our fucking lives for decades, do you know what I mean? We have done this and we have succeeded. We are going to do it again, do you know what I mean? And it's like, but you know, you're always going to have blips in a journey. It's just, as I always say, it's your behaviour afterwards. And it's like, as I said, like there were definitely trainers throughout COVID that were like this, oh, I've got no clients. Okay, I'll just not do anything about it. I'll just sit at home and in 2 years' time I'll just moan about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, okay, they might be back in a job now, face to face, when COVID was out of the window, but it's just that mentality of, oh, I'll just sit and wait until it passes, but then I'll also sulk about it in the process. Like, you know, oh, you know, I'll just sit. And a lot of business, not just our industry that went completely fucking tits up. Shops, restaurants,
so many
events. I had clients at the time that were like really high-end events planners, people that would pay like £1 million for a 1-year-old's birthday. Do you know what I mean? And for 3 years, no event.
Not one.
And so then people people are like, well, we need to postpone the event, so can you hold the deposit for 3 years, and then and it's just like, well, my cash flow is now completely fucked. I don't have any cash. So if you just really appreciate if we don't just hold, like, you know. And there was, I think for everybody, it was kind of like each for their own. Even though there was this weird clap for the NHS vibe, I think it really was each for your own. Like,
and that didn't last very long, did it?
No, it didn't. Fucking clapping outside.
Yeah, we'll clap for you outside, but God forbid we'd give you more than £14 an hour.
I know, it's actually horrific. Look, fine if it was £14 an hour if fucking life cost like fuck all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now, like, literally, like,
yeah.
it's one of these things where. We had this conversation with our neighbour, like, what would you rather be, asset rich or cash rich? What would
cash.
You cash, yeah, same.
For sure.
Because I just feel like having just recently bought
depends on what the
house,
asset is. Like if you're talking about a house, you have to sit on a house for at least a decade to get a return.
Thank you for telling me that after I sold a house after 4 years and took.
Yeah, well, we had.
And
we chose to
completely convert the house as well.
Yeah, convert the house and turn it into a gym and then convert it back into a house. But we also chose to sell a house, buy at the peak, the absolute Mount Everest peak of a property market.
Oh my God!
And then wait for it to, turn into the Mariana Trench, the deepest hole in the ground, and then sell the house.
But. Yeah, well, that went
which was great. A very good life.
Like, I've spoken this with a couple of clients who are also wanting, like, there's one of our clients who's wanting to move out of South Africa, and she's a virtual client, but she was saying the same thing. It's like, we're all going to take a loss at some point of our life, whether that's great. Like, if we're talking financially, you're going to take a loss at some point, but you've got to then weigh up the value of that loss. Like, for example, we were adamant and desperate at the time of when we were leaving. Like, we wanted to leave South Africa. We were like, this isn't right for us. We've just spent 2.5 years like locked inside of a fucking house. I don't want to be here. There's no electricity half the time. We're trying to run an online business and the fucking electricity won't turn on. Like, it's just counterproductive to our life going forward. So do you take a hit of what is quite like swallowing a lot of money to move back, or do you stay put? And right now, I'm really glad we didn't stay put, because it's tanked even fucking further. Worse, yeah. So there is this thing of like, okay, well,
I guess in hindsight, we made the right choice.
I try and say that in hindsight, and then in my head, is the grass greener, or is it fucking not?
8 hours of no electricity every single day is a bit long.
Yeah, and like, hey, like, we're just gonna have to stream on fucking 4G. Oh wait, you don't have 4G. It's 3G on one bar. And oh wait, you don't have signal now.
Stream on anything, bro. You're gonna stream on a candle.
Imagine having a client at like 5 a.m. and not being able to have a coffee before.
Just explaining to people what load shedding was quite entertaining.
Oh yeah, it still is though. People still don't understand it. They're like, what? They just turn off the
electricity. Gets turned off?
Yeah. I mean, so many people, like, I swear so many people think that, like, you're South African. It infuriates Mark.
Yeah, I know. It is what
Mark
it is.
is not South African. Mark is Zimbabwean. There's a very stark difference.
It's like...
Nothing against South Africans.
It's like calling a English person Irish.
Yes, it's actually offensive. No, is it?
No, well, I don't think... Well, yeah, offensive in the sense that we're just... And I know this sounds very pompous, but Zimbabweans have just got a far better nature, character, mannerisms, and we're just better educated because we
South
follow.
Africans really are not very well educated.
No, they're quite slow.
Fucking dense. Let's just be honest. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, I
like, haha, you write matric, lol.
Yeah, I know what is matric. But like, go and stand that into the other parts of the world where all of these children are wanting to go to. Like, if you're like a privileged South African child and you've done matric, like in South Africa, you're probably not going to want to stay around in South Africa to get a job because good luck. And then you'll go across to like the UK or to America or any of these places. You're try and get a job, and then they look at your thing and you're like, what? What's matric? Do you know what I mean? Are you even? And it's kind of laughable in a way, but Zimbabweans definitely like, and I'll say that having lived in South Africa as a British person and knowing a lot of Zimbabweans, seeing as half my family is Zimbabwean, there is a very stark difference in the attitudes of South Africans in general. And this is not necessarily South Africans in the UK, but in the country themselves.
They used to laugh at Zimbabwe, and we used to say to them, well, you don't laugh too much at Zimbabwe because South Africa is slowly eroding away, and they would laugh and say, no, you're completely wrong. We're too big to fail, blah, 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 blah. And, well, look at them now.
Like, you only need the
Look at them
ANC to be in
now.
power. But, like, I just think it's one of these things where people...
I also hate the fact that we're just, like, born into, like, forcing to support the South Africans in every sporting event. It's like, oh, the Springboks are playing. Well, great.
They're always playing.
Great.
I remember you just always...
You will never see a South African cheering on a Zimbabwean ever. Ever.
It's interesting that, isn't it?
Ever. Even in the Olympics, when Kirsty Coventry was winning gold medals for Zimbabwe, you don't see a peep from South Africans.
Yeah, but all the South Africans are sucking
But yet, all we do is
part
suck them off when it comes to everyone bloody wears a Springbok. Oh, you're from Zimbabwe. You must support the Springboks.
It's like, oh my God, please just do some geography, you dumb fuck. Anyway, like literally so many people say, in fact... Yeah, I mean, loads of time. Oh, yeah, Mark's South African. No, he's not. I mean,
yeah, but I do say I'm South African because when you say, well, where are you from? I'm from Zimbabwe. Where's Zimbabwe?
In Africa.
It's a neighbouring country to South Africa. Oh, where is that? Why aren't you black?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
There's like so many times where like people have said to me, oh, like. So Mark, he's a black man, is he? Like, especially in the UK. So he's black. Like, they always do that. And I think it's so horrific, isn't it? I'm sure, like all of, like, it's just horrific how people talk about it. But it's this whole thing of, like a white British person. I've had this happen in so many situations, specifically in, like, a hair salon or like a nail place or whatever, and they're like, oh, so you're married, the general chit chat, they want to talk to you and I can't be asked. And it's like, yes, yeah. It's like, oh, what does your husband do? Oh, I work with him. Okay, and where's he from? And I'm like, Zimbabwe. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, the look on their face, like, that they get, because then they think that, then the racist undertones of the British society comes in. Because this is the thing about British people are racist. They just don't know it yet. That's the difference. It's like,
I think the older generation.
Yeah, I mean the older generation's different, but like. I had this discussion with a client once. She was like, I'm definitely 100% categorically not racist. So I was like, okay, that's really cool. Like,
well
that everyone nobody should discriminate against other people, so on and so forth. Can I ask you a question? Because she had a daughter, would you allow your daughter to date a black African? And she was like, no. I was like, well, that's pretty racist.
Yeah, that's pretty racist.
That is pretty racist.
Really racist. That's probably one. But it's the same as how I've had a number of, like, this was definitely back in, when you work with, like, Indians or Pakistanis, or, I had a lot of clients, Indian and Pakistani in London. We still do. And it's that whole thing of, like, people are so, like, British people that are white are so racist. Like, that they can't even say Pakistani out loud. Like, they've got to say it like in a fucking quiet, like mouth it. Do you know what I mean? Oh yes, he's like, oh yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like fucking get a grip. Do you know what I mean? Like, we should be equal for all. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think people always say, oh, I'm not racist at all. I'm not racist at all.
People that say that are.
Oh, that was like my grandma when I turned up with my best friends growing up at school, who's here we go. Let's drop some names. Let's fucking drop some names. Anyway, he was Ian Wright's son, so obviously a black guy, obviously a privilege to a degree, obviously very privileged. And I did a test on my grandparents to see who were Jewish as fuck and incredibly white and like regal as fuck, and like I don't think we can hide that, to be quite honest with you, and I'm not about to. And I remember my grandma said, oh, can we meet up on the King's Road, which obviously in Chelsea if you don't know, but King's Road, and I'll meet you at Sloane Square station and you can bring your friend with you. Do you know what I mean? Because I was staying at Stacey's house. And anyway, obviously he was a big guy, like, do you know what I mean? A big guy, and he was black. And I arrived at the train station. I have never seen my grandma's face go as white as
like
she possibly could be. Yeah, literally, like, honestly, you couldn't get much whiter if you tried, in the sense of my grandma. But like, it was just like, so is this your friend? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, he's one of my best mates. And it was just the whole thing, thank God it's not your boyfriend. Do you know what I mean? Like literally,
Oh,
and I just
jeez.
thought, fuck, you are so. I mean, people in the UK, just in general, I think they always pretend that they're not, and they fucking
The thing is,
are.
it's like the main driving factor for Brexit was immigration, of
Yes.
people taking their jobs and so on and so forth, and X, Y, and Z, and even now with, the boats are coming across and doing all this other nonsense. It's like it's a su- subversive. I don't know. It's like
Oh God.
an undertone. It's just basically like undertoning racism to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had a very heated debate with a client the other day about this and the boats coming across and the thoughts of like immigration and Brexit and stuff like that. And I have to say, I'm a firm believer. I don't really like our country exploiting other people's countries like workers. So we've got this thing in the British government where we like to entice all people from different countries to come into our own to do the jobs which pretty much our country should be doing if they were paid well enough. And so one of the saddest things I see, and I genuinely mean this, because we had obviously people that work with us in the gym that used to like help us clean, and like we had maids in South Africa, and Charity was like our godsend. I gave her like half the house and we left, and and we had gardeners and we had all these people that we really respected, and these people don't really get that well paid in countries like Africa or India. And so there's that whole thing of like go across to the UK and make money, but you're still exploited to fuck because you're still not paid what you should be in a country like this. You're sending all of your money back home. Do you know what I mean? So what are you living on exactly in the UK? Pretty much nothing. And yet none of our own can do these jobs. But yet the UK government, all they're doing is advertising for everybody apart from British people to work into the UK. But that takes away the best people. Think about like the doctors, the carers, the nurses.
They're all going to Australia. Because
But
the Australians are trying to poach all the doctors and stuff by paying them 150 grand a year.
yeah, but that's the thing. Then you take it away from their own country. So now those countries don't have the best. Do you know what I mean? They've got the absolute worst. She's that country's never going to strive to be better or be able to help as many people.
Well, if immigration was such a bad thing, then why are they trying to get people from other countries to come and do the jobs that most British people don't want to do, like caring?
Like there was a slight thing that
They've got a huge drive in Zimbabwe where the British government is, searching for people hand over fist to come to Britain to look after the people that then voted to get rid of all the immigration and all the people that are not English, and you're taking our jobs and stuff like that. But those people then end up coming and looking after you when you're drooling on yourself.
Yeah, literally. And you know what? That's just it's a laugh, isn't it, really? The fact that ends up like that. It
cracks me up because I'm like, and much like when Brexit happened and everyone was so keen to get out of the European Union, and I was just waiting. Okay, when you you slide into the airport with your beautiful pink passport and you just breeze through immigration because you're part of the European Union. And look at you now. Everyone's queuing with all the dirty Africans, the Americans.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's one of these things where I mean...
when your dad went to Switzerland, he stood in immigration passport control for 2.5 hours.
I know,
welcome.
It's actually insane.
Welcome.
Well, yeah, let's actually give an update because Mark can't actually get a Schengen visa at all currently.
Yeah,
at
there you
all.
go.
So there's no even chance of him getting into Europe. No fucking European break for us.
I'm gonna have to catch one of the buggers on the dinghy and take it back.
I think the dinghy situation. Look, first of all, I think we sit here like not coming from a war-torn country, and so forth. And I know there's certain individuals that are absolutely desperate to get out of where they currently have been brought where they're from, do you know what I mean, to try and get a better life. And I come from an immigrant side of a family, like all of my Jewish heritage is immigrants, do you know what I mean? We all are immigrants. And, so I'm not against that because I feel like everybody should have the opportunity of a better life. Where I think it goes a bit skew-if, and I think you'll agree with this, is we started, the uptake of the drug trade, shall we say, in the UK, and I think London especially, and around the UK, Liverpool, Manchester, all of this, all of these people that were coming on boats were like young males, not with their children, not with their partner and their wife or whatever, who were still back in the countries. And these young males were coming across effectively, not all of them, but a large majority of them were then doing crime of some sort, never registering in the country, never being caught, whatever, and taking all of this and then just fucking back to their
But
own
whose
country.
fault is that though? It's
Well,
not their fault. It's what the government should do is put like appreciate that if they cannot stem the flow of it, right? They shouldn't necessarily encourage people to risk their lives by traversing an ocean in a dinghy, right?
no, but
But
if you're that
let's
desperate,
say
well,
let's say if that's the case, you don't want to encourage it, but you should make the most of it. Get people in. Okay, cool. You want to come to the UK? Great. Okay,
what
it's
about
going to
doing
take you 3 years.
apprenticeship? Yeah.
It's going to take you 3 years to probably get some form of documentation. And in those 3 years, you're going to go pick apples on a farm. You're going to go and do all these. You're going to earn the right to and contribute in terms of paying tax and national insurance. They should get as soon as you come off the boat, document them and say, right, this is where
Problem
if
is,
you
it's
want to
not
work
most people
here.
that come off the boat run. Do you know what I mean? There's no like the whole point.
Are
Is
they?
that
Are they?
yeah.
Or is the British government spending hundreds of millions of pounds putting them in hotels?
Yes, those that get effectively boats caught, but have you not fucking watched? Like some of them go onto shore and they will run in every different direction. Hence why all the houses down by the ocean bit that were owned by British people started being like, I have immigrants in my garden hiding in a fucking shed. Like,
Yeah.
can you
Okay.
please help
Yes.
me?
Okay. So then the government should realise that it's an issue like they are doing, and put resources towards trying to not capture these individuals, but you may as well make the best out of a bad situation and try and get those people to contribute towards the economy and society as quickly as possible.
Yeah, okay, very easier said than done. Like I think the drug trade situation came from, well,
The drug trade is always going to be there. Why? Because there's a supply for it. British people love cocaine.
yes, I know, but also we shouldn't really be then saying like, okay, cool. I'd love like British people love cocaine. Okay, can it be sold by British people? That would be great. Do you know
What,
what I
the
mean?
cocaine?
Or should you be paying like an Albanian gangster? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
And
if
like
he,
we've all been in a
but if he
situation
knows,
that's got a
but
briefcase of different types of fucking drugs and goes, do you know what I mean? Or an Albanian, that then go and take that money out of the UK into their own country in the sense of drug. I'm all for the drug trade, to be quite honest with you. I think if they fucking taxed it, we'd
just
actually be a much
legitimize it.
wealthier
Yeah.
country. Literally. But no, we won't. We'll just keep it really highly illegal.
Yeah, because
and then,
all the drugs coming into the UK are not,
like, yeah,
accounted for
witnessed.
by people in high-ranking parts of the government. The UK is an island. Like,
Yeah.
it can't be that difficult to stop the drug flow. Like, I appreciate people can come in here and there, but the vast majority of it's coming through ports. It's coming through Liverpool. It's coming through Southampton. They're known. It's coming through all these places, and people are looking the other way because
And whilst we're
capitalist
at
society.
it, Sainsbury's got a deal of fucking 24 cans of fucking whatever, where you can just go and kill yourself tomorrow if you want. Do you know what I mean? But oh well.
Yeah,
just
I just
carry on
think that
fucking
if you could harness those individuals as quickly as possible and get them into the system and contributing towards the economy, contributing towards society in general, you know.
But would you
Then
not agree with this? Because I remember when I used to take drugs like very, very frequently. Not to say that I had a bit of a problem with it, like big problem with it, but like the almost more exciting part of getting drugs, just like when you're underage, like with a fake ID, was getting the drugs because it was really quite criminal what you were doing to get those drugs. Now, I personally think that we would limit the intake of drugs if it was legalized.
Yeah.
Because the fun of like getting it and fucking turning up in a Mercedes with some guy like blacked out windows and trying to pick up a couple of bags or whatever the fuck you were getting, do you know what I mean, was much more exciting than actually taking the drug, point one.
well, look what happened in Portugal when they legalized all recreational drugs. The amount of overdoses significantly dropped, and the amount of recreational users dropped, and they've seen nothing but positive benefits from legalizing all recreational drugs. But the reality is may sound like a conspiracy theory, but someone's getting their palm greased somewhere.
God, in the UK government.
Yeah,
yes.
of course there are.
Like, there's no other way. In
Of
fact, there's a
course
lot
there
about
are.
that, but I'm not going to fucking drop some government names in here in case we get this whole podcast fucking ended.
The MI6 comes through the window.
Well, my uncle works for them, so God knows what he does.
We'll just drop
He'll
some,
be the one coming through the
some
window.
name drops.
My mum would probably fucking shoot him down. But yeah, I don't know. I think it should be legalised. I think it should be then more of a normal
Legalised,
conversation.
taxed. You know,
Think of the responsibility of all of these venues and events and restaurants and bars and fucking pubs and all of this thing where this stuff happens on a day-to-day basis. People snorting cocaine, people taking pills, people taking MDMA in their premises, do you know what I mean? Where they are then legally obliged to look after the safety and health of their people the public coming into their spot. If we just legalised it, then everybody would fucking know. Just like the two guys...
Yeah, but
set
there'd
up
also
the thing to check your drugs at festivals to check that they weren't
pull
dodgy.
report.
Yeah, that's a great idea, but like it only really works when they're legal to some degree. Otherwise,
and the quality is always going to be better. You're going to make sure that the recreational drugs are quality controlled. What's in them is what's in them, and you're not going to think you're doing a line and then blast some fentanyl and die.
Yeah, and this is the thing, and like how much is that? I will never forget, and this is not to be proud of, but I do have a past. But a drug dealer once said to me, like, you need to be very careful, like, and this is when I was the first ever fucking.
Oh, well, then you just know,
those...
you're in a bad spot when the drug dealer's trying to take you to
such
an impart wisdom.
Like, you need to be really careful because, like, he used to have my best interests at heart in a very subconscious, fucked way. But he used to say to me, like, I don't because my shit's premium. But he was like, I know a lot of people it was in the London group who were like cutting shit with rat poison, cutting shit with like
laxatives.
Creatine was also the thing they used to mix cocaine with because it was like it looked
I
exactly the same.
which I appreciate because at least
games.
I can get my
At least
5
you're getting
grams.
some fucking games. But the whole thing is that all these young individuals, just the same as they can go and down a whole bottle of very strong cider and die, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing as like it's very cool to do drugs. It's very cool. It's very fucking cool. Like, and that's never going to change.
Yeah, especially in the UK. Like, I'd never seen drugs. Nobody did drugs in Zimbabwe. Like, you were ostracized if you smoked a joint, basically. Nobody. I don't even think you could buy cocaine.
I did my first ever line when I was 14. That's fucked, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously that's not behaviour that I would entice on a health fitness podcast. But that's pretty fucked, and it's because of the people I was around, or the people that I wanted to put myself around. Let's just change the narrative there. It's not, oh, woe is me. I fucking chose to be like that. And the same. I
guess in the UK, it's so readily available. Like, I could get a gram of cocaine quicker than I could get 500 grams of creatine, probably.
Yeah, probably, legitimately.
Yeah, so
could probably like get it in literally the next half an hour.
And it's so socially acceptable in London, where like
everywhere,
it kind of got to the point where like people weren't even going into the toilet to do lines. It was like lines were just there.
Then there was the keys. That's the
lines,
reason why keys came like,
cards.
It's really fucked, and like I only speak like this because we're not like this now. But like I do think that. It's all fun.
There's a time
games.
and a place for
There's
it, though. But like certain elements of doing cocaine and raving and stuff like that were really, really fun.
Cocaine's not a raving drug, though. You would probably want to take something like that. Let me just advise everyone. You would probably want to take a pill or an MDMA. But even then, pills.
But still very like parts of our lives still really entertaining and fun.
Not really with me because I had a bit of a problem. But
yeah, like, yes. Speaking for myself, there were moments where.
But
I had
you
loads
started
of fun.
taking it much later in life, like when you first came across the UK and like started.
Not even when I'd been in the UK for like 6 years. Because all I'd been doing was
environment that dictates that, isn't it?
Well, I started working in Chelsea, and then that went pear-shaped.
Because of all the clients. Like, and Mark used to be gifted drugs by clients. I'm not joking.
Yeah, I used to get given grams on my birthday. Yeah. Good grams as well.
No, Mark, that's not okay. But this is the kind of thing, like the Trustafarians with walking around with rocks of cocaine from like Ecuador and shit. Do you know what I mean? Just gifting them to their personal trainer. Like, what the fuck? Like,
I'm not gonna lie.
So
like, it was, someone giving you a gram for your birthday was really like, thank you, man, thank you.
Mark, remember
Thank
we're on a
you.
podcast right now. You don't
Yeah,
say
no, but at the time in my life when, every Friday there was a gram knocking about somewhere.
it's called life.
Yeah,
If
when
you
you're in
can
your
manage it,
20s
fucking do it. I don't care.
and and you've got minimal responsibilities and you're just trying to find yourself as a person, especially coming from Zimbabwe where, like I said, there's no nightclubs, there's none of that. Everything's so sheltered. And then you get ejected into one of the biggest cities in the world, surrounded by so many different people, shapes and sizes, different venues, different bars, different this, different that. I mean, I had a Tony Montana moment where I thought I was in Scarface.
Yeah, fuck don't. Like, we don't need to repeat that, do we?
But yeah, there
But
was a
time
time
and
and
a
a
place,
place,
whatever.
like,
It's exactly the
for
same.
it.
It's like time and a place to be morbidly
And
obese.
and the thing is, you see recreational drugs literally destroying people around you, and much like some elements of my family were alcoholics. Like when you see that firsthand, you're like, for me personally, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that. So it's always erring with sensibility of being cautious, like not just like
I was definitely the first one in my family to fucking play around with the word drug. Let's just say that. There wasn't ibuprofen. Like, I'm not joking. Like, my sister was not that way inclined at all.
no.
I just have a very... I don't really want to blame I've got an addictive personality, because I don't actually think I have an addictive personality. I think
It's
that's...
just
I
the
just...
people that you're surrounded by.
No, and also myself. Do you know what I mean? You know you've got a problem when you start taking it yourself and you've got nobody around you. That's when the lines really drawn.
Well,
Like,
it depends.
literally.
Like some people, we know clients that used to do lines and then clean their house. I guess that's semi-productive.
That's semi-productive. Well, not really, Mark. I don't really
You
think
come home and
that's more.
your whole house is literally
so
spotless,
fucked.
but you're gurning off your face.
No, we had clients that used to like feed their like partners like Xanax, like so they'd stop fucking taking
Oh my
drugs.
God,
That was
yes.
fucked. Like
Gosh.
they used
Yeah,
to make them a cup
literally,
of tea at
like,
like 2
yeah.
in the morning just to stop them taking drugs.
Oh my God, yeah, I remember that.
And then they come in eyes wide open in the gym. I'm ready, and I'm like, no, you're fucking not. My insurance does not cover this shit.
No,
Like
it
literally,
doesn't.
like you are not
No.
to do anything. Leave the
No.
gym.
No.
But this is the reality. I'm sure there's women listening to this right now. I know there's women listening. They're probably going, oh my God, I can't believe they're talking about this. Oh my God, what a taboo subject. It's not taboo. It should be talked about. The more we speak about these things, the more people understand it. They work out whether or not it's something they want to try or not try or never experience. But like Mark said, like, if you've seen firsthand what it can do, like to certain individuals, whether that's alcohol or drugs, yeah, you're more likely to never want to do it. It's like my dad's father died of cancer from smoking, and my dad has never, ever smoked anything in his whole fucking life because of it. And so you can imagine when his daughter starts smoking at God knows what fucking age,
Yeah.
and he's just like, can you stop blowing that in my face, you disrespectful little twat? Like, you know, like, and I'm just like, oh, sorry, I'm on my 20th cigarette because I'm so fucking cool. Like, you know, and my whole family's like, oh, she'll learn. Do you know what I mean? And I did fucking learn. But it was all these things where I just think it should be spoken about, because these are things that I'll never forget. My godparents in Australia, who are not really godparents anymore, just due to just them being twats, but they have a son. And look, their son was, he was conceived via a huge, like, I think it was about 6 or 7 IVF treatments. It was something very, very hectic, which is going to, again, cement that value of a child so much on when you have the child. And this was the only child they had. And I just remember, like, the family, the dad never wanted him, like, doing anything, like, being a teenager, being anything, you know, like, anything out of the reins, like, no alcohol, no drugs, nothing. And what he didn't know is that his son was like literally doing that, like on a complete, you know, going out, smoking joints, taking drugs. Like when his first lads holiday, he got literally beaten up to a pulp in Croatia for like fucking around with like drug dealers in a nightclub. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, but like I would rather my child have an understanding as to what they are going to experience in their life, because it is going to be experienced in this day.
Well, you can literally
so they don't
pass
then
down.
end up being...
Yeah, you can pass down valuable information, because for some children, you know, you can't shelter them from this. Whether it's up until the age of 18. But what happens when they go to uni? Do you know what
Even
I
then
mean?
at school, Mark,
And
go
all
to
those
private
kids
schools,
that
too much
were,
availability
oh,
of
you
it.
can't do this, you can't do that. All those kids that were, held under the thumb when they were at school have turned into creatures when they get half a mile away from home, and
Yeah,
they've got no parental supervision. They go absolutely bananas, and they
yeah.
fail their uni degrees, and they just end up wastemen. And then you're like, well, better to, I know I'm not promoting children, doing drugs at a young age, but I'd rather, you
At
get
least
it,
educate them.
try it, get it out your system by the time you're in your 20s, and then just, be there, done that, got the t-shirt type
You
scenario.
just like need to be in a position where then you can like prime your actually rest of your life without being a complete crackhead, to be quite honest with you. But it's still something that I listen to in the gym that we go to, like the old boys, not the old boys,
Oh, the
probably
Porsche
like
boys.
the Porsche boys. Literally,
Yeah.
we call them Porsche boys because they actually all drive
They all
Porsches.
drive Porsches.
And they all have this group, and it's like, oh yeah, the missus is going away. I've got this rock of cocaine. Do you want to see it? Zooms in, do you know what I mean, their phone, and then whilst doing an amist of like an amateur golf swing in the middle of the gym. Do you know what I mean?
In between the sets of Preacher.
Yeah, between the pitch and a couple of pull-ups, and it's oh yeah, we're going to take this, and oh yeah, should we get the sets out, the DJ fucking thing? We can come round mine. I'm like, Jesus, how old are you, honestly? But it's that. I'd rather both me and Mark be on the same page with it, do you know what I mean, than have like one of us that's like a secret,
Yeah, like a secret
rager.
rager.
Do you know what I mean? Like literally, and the wife doesn't know, and the minute the wife goes away, the husband goes and rages. Like I'd know exactly what Mark would be doing if I was away. Probably just sat watching Lord of the Rings or something.
Or
Like,
Harry Potter.
literally.
Or Harry Potter.
Like, with the dogs. That's literally and if he was to go out and do something, I'd probably much know exactly what he would be doing vaguely, and I think that kind of element in relationships very key, rather than being sort of like, oh yeah, whilst my husband's away I'm just going to get up to no fucking good, or vice versa. But no, interesting topic for debate today. Kind of gone around in a few circles.
Yeah, I think they should legalize it. I think they should legalize all recreational drugs. You should be able to, have to apply for it and get a card and da 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 and all that kind of nonsense.
Have your details
And
taken, like in the sense of like verification.
Yeah, everything. And the thing is, the government would be able to generate ungodly amounts of tax money that could then be utilized better within, the economy by, social housing or, after school clubs, education,
social care, everything.
Infrastructure. There is so many things that are currently so underfunded within the economy that could be done with getting a boost. And imagine the UK in summer, like Amsterdam style, where you had like coffee shop, but pubs turned into like pubs and coffee shops.
No, you don't need
and
to.
how
I think it's the whole thing of like the thing is though, like what our thoughts are on alcohol is that like I just don't understand why alcohol's so sociable. But yeah, somebody can walk into a room and go, oh, I fucking drank 7 bottles of wine last night. But if you went in and said, oh, I've smoked a joint, or I've had a fucking magic mushroom, or or they waltz in and they go, oh, I've taken 4 grams of cocaine. You'll be like, are you okay, mate? I think we send you to the primary. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think you're okay. But yeah, when somebody walks in 9 bottles of wine down, do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, you fucking legend.
So smashed last night.
I was like, yeah, I had to be like put to bed and like fed. Do you know what I mean? But yet, when you're raging on,
it's embarrassing.
It is. That is fucking embarrassing. Like, do you want a bib? Do you know what I mean? Because you're not going to get a medal.
I find nothing more cringy than when people are like, oh, dude, I'm just hanging
I'm just
so
fucking
much.
hanging out of my ass. Like, I'm just
That's also a very London, West London.
So please don't talk to me. I'm just hanging out of my ass. Like, I just had like a real big one last night.
It's like, oh, okay, well, you're a functioning addict. Well done.
Yeah, literally. And then it's rewarded at work. Oh, let's all go for drinks. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally. Oh, should we all go and do a line of cocaine in the bathroom? Maybe we'll actually be productive in our jobs. If not, we'll turn up tomorrow hanging. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so you're scatty.
Scatty as fuck. But yeah, I mean, look, there's no benefit to any of this shit, but it's how it should be utilised in
a government certain benefits for certain things. Like,
go, oh my God, you are so wrong. Well, fucking don't listen to us.
Are we? Are we wrong?
Are we
wrong? Because whatever you're representing the UK government, you're doing a stellar job currently. Well done.
Well
Do you know what I
done.
mean?
You're doing a really
You're a
great
bunch of
job.
liars. You're a bunch of nepotistic individuals that are out for your own personal good
Yes.
and that lie to the general population with a straight face consistently over and over again. And you're meant to tell us how to run our lives. I don't think so.
Okay, Mark, you're not
I
that
don't
illegal,
think
do you know
so.
what I mean? But like, I think it is the thing of like, who's telling you what, and I just think it's more about availability of finance. Like,
Well,
if you're
when
in
they
so
went
much
to
debt,
we went to Downing Street and Whitehall, and they swabbed all the toilets, and all of them had cocaine in it. And Boris was partying into the middle of the night with
oh
all of
please, why are you
his
bringing up Boris? Boris is
leprechauns.
long gone. Rishi
All
would
of
never
them,
do
yeah.
that. Rishi's
None of
been
those
what with so
dudes
many morals.
were on the bag, were they? No, of course they were. Come on.
No, it's not. It's not that. It's just the fact that, like, you know, I think it would limit the amount of people that do take drugs, though, because if you had a verification process, some people just wouldn't want their name against something like that,
Sure.
and so it might just stop them doing it. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many people where like would not speak about the subject at all, and it's all very shush shush. And then I reckon if you had to put your passport against it, you'd be like, oh dear,
No,
thank you.
I get that. I get that.
So it would actually limit the, and I think there's always going to be an illegal sense to it. There's always an illegal sense to anything. It's called a side hustle, and it's a very good
Yeah.
one. Like, literally,
Yeah, but if you could literally legalize it and have enough, supply and demand for your local, but think about all the people and the pain and the suffering further down the chain when the drugs are getting cooked in Colombia and the Mexican cartels are chopping people's heads
go to
off.
London into a fucking estate
Do you
where
know
they're all
what I
getting
mean?
shot
Like,
up for literally drug
Yeah,
trade. Do you know what I mean?
so
And then
many.
you want to launch a YMCA centre to hope they all clap together. Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck's
Yeah,
sake,
it's
like,
so
wake
weird.
up. Like, it is one of those
But there's
things.
so
Like,
many, there's so much pain and suffering that could be negated by the government just realizing that.
and I'm so against people that are convicted on drug cases. Potentially you've been brought up in that environment at age fucking 12, you see somebody be shot and it's like your brother on an estate who has been dealing drugs and hasn't paid the money for something. You're now in that environment. You're now going to be exactly like that. And then you go and get put in prison. Do you know what I mean? You come out, you're actually an educated, you're an intelligent individual. Do you know what I mean? You should have a second chance. I'm really sorry, but you shouldn't. Do you know when you go down, you go and fucking, anybody goes and supplies a bunch of Smirnoff Ices to children, do you know what I mean? Do you think they're thrown in fucking jail? But yeah, when it comes to all of these people never have a second chance at all. It's exactly the same in America. Like, it's these things where I'm really against it. People should have second chances, and you should actually understand the background they're brought up into from the day that they are born into a family like that, and where they see their brothers and their siblings and stuff. That's the only pathway they know, and it's the only pathway that they're dictated from such a young age. And then you go throw them in prison, they come out, and then you're not allowed a second chance.
But
Do you
I
know what
think
mean?
it's by design though, because all the prisons are private corporations and they need people in beds. So
I know, but why don't you just stop fucking around with all the people that just molest children the whole bloody time, or
I
or
really
girls,
do.
or,
I just think that,
or fucking like the churches that like wank off boys in like some behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? Oh well, let's just fucking laugh it off. Do you know what I mean? The same as Rolf Harris, who managed to run his whole life without, whilst he was sticking fucking fingers everywhere. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then you're going to shove somebody in jail at age 16 to a juvenile detention centre,
an ounce
speak
of
to them
weed.
like a piece of shit because they've got a bag of weed on them and they were supplying, you know what I mean? Like, come on. And then you'll launch a YMCA centre with a ping pong table and hope that these people are going to be fucking enticed into a better life, earning money with ping pong. Do you know what I mean? Fuck's sake. Like, honestly, it's like, we're too outdated here. We're just too outdated, and we need to come to terms with what it is and why the crime is so high to where it is. Because cost of living is abominable. How are you making money repeatedly? Drugs.
That weird woman wanted to change the classification of marijuana from a class B to a class A.
Yeah, what is wrong with you? You clearly need to smoke a joint. Do you know what I mean? Chill the fuck out, you weirdo. But like,
but this is the thing: is like all the people that do go and end up working in the governments and stuff like that. It's not coming from a self, let me help my community, let me help society. It's self-grandizing, narcissistic. Like, how am I gonna get a leg up? And how am I going to help my mates with all these private government contracts and all that other stuff? with taxpayers' money.
And then they actually pretend to know what it's actually like, because I don't know what it's like to live on an estate, being brought up where people are being shot and stabbed around you and the drug trade is so high. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what that's like, but I can definitely fucking try and learn to see like I can see what it does to people, and yet people are just so oblivious to it. They think that honestly, like,
Yeah,
a
but you
social
can't expect
sentence-
somebody that is from the Oxbridge,
who are busy fucking railing the lines
Yeah,
up.
those
let's
are the
just say
people that
do
are
you know what I mean?
railing. Wagwan, man, them.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hello, mate, in your Mercedes Benz. Are you driving the fucking wagon? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let me just pick up. Hello, mate. Can I have a gram? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
they'll never know what it's like to not be able to pay rent or to struggle with bills and so on and so forth, and they'll never understand what it's like to live in a council estate
Really?
and have zero
They're
options apart
oblivious.
from trapping.
Yeah, and you know what also is they're clearly oblivious to understand that, like, when people don't have much chance in life and that environment is like that, they see how much money can be made by that versus potentially another job or whatever that is potentially at their level, because they're put down at levels, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, and so when you're making shit tons of money as drug dealers, and I can tell you this now, if you're a good drug dealer, you're making a lot of money. And yeah, I'm not saying that it's great, do you know what I mean, that you're taking in money illegally, but what I am saying is, when you start seeing that fucking return, try and end that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
try and get out of it. You can't.
You either die or you get locked up, and
Yeah.
that's how you get out the game.
But like, I'm just like, I can't believe that some people are literally thrown in jail for years for like holding some marijuana.
Yeah, they don't like.
But yet, like, Sainsbury's is legally allowed to sell like fucking.
Or a corner shop, the boss man who sells you a bottle of, a bottle of vodka when you're 15 years old.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Exactly.
And then you go around the corner, you drink that, you choke on your own vomit, and you die.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody bats an eyelid.
Yeah, let's not blame the vodka, shall we? We won't blame the fucking
No.
alcohol companies or the people that are selling it to you. But it's exactly the same. It's like when drug dealers, instead, they're just forced to have to do it illegally, And I always say this, some of the most criminal people in this world, and I'm not talking paedophilia and murdering, I'm not talking about that, and the gross elements of that, but in a sense of crime, and I'm talking
Fraud. Extortion.
scamming, drug trade, hacking, you are fucking intelligent. I'm sorry. And I think people should look at that and go, fuck, we should utilize these people more, because they actually are so many steps ahead of us that we don't even know what they're thinking next, And instead it's like, you know what, you're dumb individuals, you're uneducated, God forbid you should set, And actually, it's a fucking hustle. At
Yeah,
least
I would
they're
imagine,
working.
like, if you're a really high, not a high-level drug dealer, but relatively high, you've got, you need to utilize so many skills, from being financially savvy to
Oh my God,
controlling your, being an HR manager, controlling your workforce, dealing with customer relations, dealing with a whole bunch of things.
And also just knowing, like, how to hide shit. Like, if you ever like listen to people that have like been like, I don't know, like banged up in jail for like a period of time for doing this, and they come out and they do like, I don't know, talks on like how it is and like why they got. It's so intelligent how they got there. Like, literally, forget the people doing academics in like Oxbridge and just pretending to like be a professor of some degree. Now, I'm not belittling that, but the brains you need to fuck somebody over is intelligent brains.
Yeah, you need to be steps ahead.
If you were in the 80s or the 90s, like scamming people via like phone calls or like through banking systems or check systems or whatever like that, you were really, really quite smart. Like, literally. And I know you might be listening to this and be like, oh, my grandma got scammed and she's lost all her house. And like, you'd be like, you're so insensitive. I do get it. My grandma gets called all the time. My mum and dad got a call, like, which was like a proper...
they literally
like,
almost handed over their entire bank account.
Literally. So it's not like I'm saying that it's an insensitive comment, but it is. You should never belittle how intelligent these people actually are.
Yeah.
They're not. It's just also some people don't choose the life they're in. Sometimes they're put in the life they are. And I just think that everybody should have a second opportunity. Like, if I ever ran like a business where I could employ like people to help, and that wasn't like a coaching business in a weird way, I would 100% give like offend not fucking children fiddlers, like, or go, like I would say people that have done pretty much no wrong, I always say.
Yeah.
I would give them a second chance because I think they should.
Well, look at Frank. He was in jail for almost a
yeah.
decade for being incredibly, probably one of the highest Colombian cartel members in London. Went to jail for 9 years, came out, got himself straight, got himself some qualifications, and
Now look
is
where he
now about to open up a whole bunch of franchises in London, above board, got a family, got a,
Yeah.
you know, he
And he's
turned
such a
his,
nice guy as well. And like, it's
you
one of
know,
these things, I don't really judge people based off of their
literally from like ordering people to get their heads chopped off to franchising and making good money. So not to say that that's right or wrong, and
But you're put into the situation. Like,
Yeah.
once you've done it once in drug trade, like they normally say that that's the
It's the power.
That's the literally your.
I used to ask him so many questions because I'm just curious individuals, and I would say to him, like, what's the one thing that you miss about running the Colombian cartel in London? And he said, not so much the power and buying things and the women and so on and so forth. It's just the power, being able, the authority to, like, people know you, people are
kind of scared
of
of you, yeah.
yeah. People are really. I remember our boss at the time, because Frank was my manager. Our boss threatened Frank, like, physically, and we like squared up to him and was like, "Ugh." And Frank was like, "Mate, one phone call, and you'll be going one phone call, and you're not only your whole family will be dead."
Yeah, and that's so fucked.
And he said to the guy, even we'll dig your grandmother up, we'll shoot her, and then we'll put her back in the grave.
It's so fucked though. That's on another level, like where like there is no emotion, there's no empathy, there's no emotion towards it. It's just like
it's
exactly
hard
like
to wrap it's hard to wrap your head around it, but it is.
None of that TV
really
show
scary.
shit's made up, let's just say that. Do you know what I mean? It's all factually fucking correct. And
yeah,
I think,
it's really scary when
it
you
is
think
really
about
scary.
it.
And I know people will listen to this, you're going to have different fucking opinions to us, and good for you. But the reality is we are speaking from quite young-minded heads here, like in the sense of we're not middle-aged just yet.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I just think it's something that needs to be spoken about more. We all do it. We all have done it. Like, and if you haven't, then you're probably drinking alcohol. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, don't judge.
Like,
don't get on your high horse
don't
and
get on your
judge
high
people
horse,
when you sit in there and you're knocking back a couple bottles of wine a week, because
I hope you enjoy your Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, you've got no room to even judge when you're just sucking on that carcinogenic, which is giving you cancer. So don't judge.
Look, I'm not saying that cocaine doesn't have a load of fucking problems.
No, I'm not saying, but like, let's not get on our high horses and look down at people who do recreational drugs when you consume alcohol on a consistent basis.
Which is a recreational drug.
Anyway,
look, it might just be a more sociable one.
And has contributed to more deaths and domestic abuse, and then all of the recreational drugs put together.
Exactly. So there we've got it.
Before you judge others, judge yourself.
What a positive fucking end. But that was a good chat though, because I feel like I just want to make sure that our opinions are opinions, but they're never going to change because they're my opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Well, opinions do change if you change your mind, and different.
I've never changed my mind. I've always just thought that, seeing as I've been a product of my environment on numerous times, that it might as well just talk about it.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
Okay.
So anyway, life isn't easy. Get over the hurdles. Understand you're always going to be faced with them.
Embrace the suck.
Embrace sucking dick. And embrace it, guys. We will be back soon. Speak to you soon.
Bye.